Well, hello. I'm Doug Meadows. I am the founder, visionary, and hero maker here at David Douglas Diamonds. And this is week one of 2026, where we are celebrating a century of a legacy of luxury. And I just wanted to share a little bit again today. I've got me some cheat notes today because there's a lot to remember, and I can't remember it all by heart. But I wanted to reflect back on 1926. That's the year that my grandfather started us in the jewelry industry. And you know, as I investigated it and looked into it, there was a lot going on in 1926. I mean, we had kind of the Roaring Twenties that I had always heard of but never really understood. And I just took a glimpse into 1926 and to see what was going on. Actually, 5 years after that, it would be the Empire State Building would have been finished and opened up. And then the book Winnie the Pooh hits the shelves. You know, I know that's a favorite of a lot of people. If you want to get that first edition book, I did find it on Etsy for only $2,250. So there's only one left, so if you want to get it, you better grab it now. TV gets its first demonstration of moving pictures. And then Route 66 is officially established on November 11th in 1926. It was called the Mother Road. It linked Santa Monica, California to Chicago, or Chicago to Santa Monica, depending on which way you took it, which I had the pleasure to do a few years ago. Me and my wife, we had a friend of mine's convertible Miata, and it was one of my most favorite vacations I've ever taken. We get in this car out in California. And I wondered after 2 weeks, we were going to do this for about a little over 2 weeks, and I didn't know if at the end of it, me and my wife would be hating each other or just really having a blast. And thankfully, we were having a blast. We started out in LA there and took a couple of weeks and drove it all the way to Chicago. And I tell you, it was an incredible time. It was one of those things on my bucket list to do that. We also had NBC was launched with the radios. Marilyn Monroe, Fred Gwynn, who was Herman Munster, and Hugh Hefner were born that year. And sadly, it's the year that we lost Henry Houdini. Yeah, he actually died in Detroit at the age of 52. Babe Ruth and the renowned New York Yankees lose the World Series to the St. Louis Cardinals, which I know broke a lot of people's hearts, but it's what happened. You could send a letter to the then president, Calvin Coolidge, for only 2 cents. The 4th of July in 1926 marked the 150th anniversary of our U.S. Declaration of Independence. They call it the sesquicentennial, which we have the 250 year, which I don't know what it's called, but by the time we get to the 4th of July, we'll talk about it. They had a ton of events going on out in Philadelphia, and it lasted until the end of the year. And Calvin Coolidge gave a very renowned speech, declaring a famous speech reaffirming founding principles like equality, rights, and the consent of the governed, emphasizing faith and heritage amidst the modern era. That's a mouthful. I didn't do a good job with that. But then in Detroit, there was a whole lot of going on. Henry Ford announces the 40-hour work week, which, you know, I mean, we live with that today. I mean, some people even live with a shorter work week, but back then they, you know, worked them like slaves practically. But they came in and did this 40-hour work week, which it was broken down by the day to where there was 8 hours of work, 8 hours of leisure, and 8 hours of rest. And we also had the Pontiac 6 car was beginning to run off the assembly line. It was brand new to the lineup of the cars there. But there was this building in downtown Detroit on 33 John R. Street that had just opened maybe 6 months prior to this, and it was called the Metropolitan Building. And, you know, I found a really cool article, and I just want to read just a little bit of an excerpt from it because it really captures the essence of this building. It says, unlike most buildings downtown, the Metropolitan was not an office building. From the beginning, the Metropolitan was leased to jewelers and related businesses. Thus, it was often called informally or known as the Jewelers Building. The first 3 floors and basement were designed to house retail shops, while the rest was leased to beauty and dress shops, wholesale jewelers, dealers, and manufacturers. The 5th floor through the 10th were almost all jewelers, which, to interrupt here for just a second, my grandfather was on the 9th floor. And all jewelers, it was also known as Jewelers Court. Diamond cutters, goldsmiths, and silver workers all took up quarters. There was compressed air plant in the basement that supplied air to the workbenches for all the tenants, as well as a refrigerated plant and gas for the forges. The 11th and 12th floor were given to admin, commercial artists, and insurance and real estate agents. There were 25 to 40 establishments on the first floor, with about 150 others on the other 8 floors. It was a modern, fireproof retail and commercial building in the heart of Detroit. The Free Press wrote in May 1925, aside from being a perfect example of Gothic architect, the Metropolitan probably is one of the most unique shopping and merchandise centers ever built in America. A visitor would enter the white marble floored lobby, the show lobby of Detroit, and immediately it impressed with the air of quiet elegance afforded by the marble walls topped by heavily beamed medieval ceiling. To the left of the lobby were displayed windows that present the appearance of a street of high-class shops by virtue and a variety of fine goods placed therein. Recessed on the doorways made exceptional displays and led to several large stores on the ground floor. 4 elevators with Gothic designs, originally designed by the ABC Elevator Company, but modernized by the Westinghouse Corporation in the 40s, were near the center of the building so all the shops could be easily accessed. To the right was the grand staircase flanked by the baluster of marble and ornamental bronze grillwork. The tower housed the elevator, penthouse, and water tank so that there was no need for any unsightly water tower that marred other buildings. In August of 1927, Central Detroit Realty installed a mezzanine balcony on the penthouse roof garden for their meals and recreation. So at 22 years old, my grandfather borrowed some money from his new bride that he had just got married the year previous to be able to open up this jewelry store. Sadly, we don't know exactly the date that he did all this. We're still trying to research that and try to figure it out. The best thing that I've got a business card of his. It says, "Try the Art Jewelers, manufacturers, diamond setters. First class work, our specialty." At the 905 Metropolitan Building at 33 John R. Street, Art Meadows. So my grandfather, Arthur, got us started in this industry. And, you know, as I don't know a lot about my grandfather, which is sad. I mean, when I could begin to remember him, he had already I guess, retired and moved down to Florida. And I don't even know when that was exactly just yet. But I do remember wonderful times going down there and visiting with him. We would play Indian dice until late hours of the night. He had a swimming pool in his backyard that we would swim in. I mean, it was a kid's playground, and we always had a great time. And, you know, he would come up to Michigan to visit us every now and then. But other than that, I don't really have, you know, really good memories. I mean, when I got to be probably in my early 20s, I went down there and I was just plain stupid. I just almost ignored my grandfather, and I should have captured that moment to spend some time with him. And I look back and, you know, I was just probably just a selfish young kid at the time, and, you know, made a lot of bad decisions and a lot of bad choices. But, you know, I'm so thankful that my grandfather got into the jewelry industry. I don't know what got him into it, but I'm glad he did. And, you know, we've had, it's been a great time. And I hope I'm worthy of the legacy to carry it on and continue on with what we're doing. So this will wrap it up for this week. Next week, we'll open up something else and talk about that. So thanks for joining, and I look forward to seeing you next week. Thank you.